Ciao. Good morning, good afternoon,
Hello.
and good evening.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Sports Across the Pond, the live stream slash semi podcast that talks about the latest and greatest happenings across the world of sports, media, and entertainment. I'm really excited to be back. It's been a while since we have been on here. Sorry to everybody who expected us to have our episode last week, but we are here today. So, Paola and Carlo, how are you guys doing across the pond?
Well, great here. Actually, I'm not on the island. I'm not in the UK today. I'm actually from Italy, like very close to you, Carlos. So we should be in the same place. Actually, I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
And
we
going back
discussed
to
it, but
the
then we never planned it properly,
yeah, I
right?
should be back in the UK end of the week. So next time we're gonna do it in London or New York. Maybe we should do.
That'd be great. That'd be great. And Carlo, looks like you've been pretty busy. I see all the updates. So you are traveling all over.
Yeah.
People can definitely catch
No,
you.
no. Yeah, not really. I was in Milano for this Italian summit for SVG Europe at Sky. It was really cool. Studio production, broadcast production, which I normally say it's not needed, but this time seeing a conference with that kind of cameras, and that's really cool. I really liked it, and I met a lot of people. Then I'm talking this Sunday in the village of Dogliani, who's in Langhe. Paolo would know is the wine region. I will be in London end of month.
You're talking or drinking or eating.
We have a lunch
It's perfect
and then
spot, to be
lunch
honest.
and then the session, and then I wrote a forward for.
It would be better the other way around, though.
Yeah, true.
First the session and then the lunch, knowing the region.
Yeah, and then I wrote a forward for a book that Francesco Farrugia just published on ChatGPT Prompt Engineer, which is really deep and good. And so there's a lot happening, basically. Yeah.
Awesome. Exciting. Well, let's get right into it because actually it was something that you posted, Carlo, that kind of sparked this whole topic for today. It's something that I've been focusing on, but real fans and sports sponsorship. So I think you posted a lot of your event summary from the Sports Pro Live event, I believe, and you saw a panel which had Spotify, Barcelona, Relo metrics, kind of all talking about varying degrees of using fan data and sports sponsorship. And what I thought was interesting was a topic that you brought up, which kind of sparked a story that I hadn't even heard about until you had posted it. But last year, and I have an article right here. Let's see if I can get fancy and share it. No, it's okay. So last year, FC Barcelona and Spotify came together for a deal where Spotify would be the key sponsor for a lot of the different activities and events. And they really found when they went to go in and actually negotiate the deal, they found that less than 1% of the 350 million followers across the world had actually registered as a fan with Barcelona, giving them the proper consent to use names, email addresses, or other types of information. And that significantly hurt the deal, right? Now, ultimately, it sounds like they still have a good relationship. It sounds like from the video clips that you posted that they've been able to cultivate a really good relationship out of that. So that's a little bit less of the topic today, but more of the topic is the fact of how many other teams or how many other areas is this happening today where brands really aren't just looking at eyeballs and impressions from a sponsorship. They're really looking to leverage that team's fan base to convert fans and build a direct relationship. And as evidenced in this article, it's really important that you actually have to have that relationship with the fan and know who they are in order to be able to facilitate that value exchange. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about today is what we call the value of real fans in sports sponsorship. So how can teams actually not fall into this trap, right? How can they make sure that they're actually activating the fans that they have through social media and in person and in stadium to make sure that they're getting the proper value that they have? So I mean, maybe I'll start, Carla, with you. Like, what were some of the things that you took away just from the panel, just to start with, and we can go into some other areas.
Yeah, there were. I was there with Paola, so
Yeah.
I think it was quite relevant. The fact that the approach they had to this sponsorship, as you may expect, because ideally it's quite an unusual sponsorship. It was really a different kind of sponsorship deal, not in per se on the deal, but what they're trying to get out of each other, and the way they're normally you think of a sponsorship deal like I want to say as a one-way deal. Okay, I'm trivializing it like dramatically. I give you money, you give me whatever reach exposure. I think in this case they're both leveraging their own strengths. So it's not only Spotify, the naming and everything and being there and being the jersey, but it's also how can Spotify provide value back to Barcelona because they have a certain audience, because they can involve talents like musicians. There was an example shown also in the video that on social made amazing reach. So I think it's more the duality of the relationship that struck a chord with me. And yes, the fact that obviously they have both, ideally, a huge user base, a community, and how they can really leverage that deeply, that's part of the discussion. I think they had quite a deep analysis of, okay, what we do with this data, how do we use it, with obviously with respect of GDPR and everything, I think. But no, Paula may have, had another impression or idea what we saw there.
Well, I think definitely it's having first-party data. It's dramatically important. There is one thing though that I keep thinking. If I compare like the club with non-traditional media, so if I think of like artists like Rihanna, or if I think of creators launching their own brands, where basically they're leveraging their own community in a completely different way. So they're actually leveraging their own, they get the community, they really know what the community wants, having or not having, possibly having first party data, but they really know what they want, and actually they really can influence and activate those fans. I think that there is a lot of learning in between the two words, because most probably my perception is, and might be completely wrong, and that would be fine, is that what clubs usually have is some data from the core fans, but they're really trying to get wider and wider audience, which makes sense, from different demographics, different geographies, and at the same time they're looking for non-core audience. So it would be the very, very casual fans, but they would be activated completely differently than the core audience. So I think that there is a wider opportunity here of gathering data and actually commercialize it for both sponsorship and non just sponsorship, even just getting their own brands. Because if you think of Rihanna with Fenty, I mean, it's a 2.8 billion beauty empire. I mean, 2.8 billion. And this is nothing to do with music. It's really just really activating the audience that she has very smartly. And I mean, it's an empire on its own. And that's in addition to anything music. So I think that there is even wider scope. So definitely sponsors, because that's important. Data are going to be valuable. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But I'm actually arguing, why not thinking of those data or how to activate the audience, having or not having the data, to commercialize it with a sub brand or something that is related to non-core fans for clubs.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that in general, one of the things that I have been taking away as I've been thinking about this is that, and no offense to obviously all of the sports sponsorship that happens, but predominantly a lot of it is somewhat, eyeball or impression driven, right? I'm trying to get my logo or get my message somehow in front of a large number of people. And, one of the things that I've seen is really this shift in companies all across the board, whether they're teams, leagues, or even, different software companies that are trying to solve these problems, is really like, how do you build those experiences that encourage fans to share that first party data, or, in some cases, people are even calling it, zero party data now, right? Where you can use all of these events and activities to gather information and make those touch points, right? Because it goes beyond just the world of like quote unquote social media. When fans go into the stadium, if you have static billboards, for example, that just have logos on there, right? All you're able to do is hope that, by having my brand in front of your eye, maybe you'll remember me if you go buy a car. But, if you were to scan a QR code or enter some type of trivia contest, you can use these other touch points in the fan journey to collect a lot more data so that you're in a more favorable position to be able to go and obviously this is going to help your own business as a club, right? Build a better experience for the fan, more personalized, but it's also going to give you opportunities to monetize, because you're going to have this rich bank of first party data that then you have the consent to go and activate against.
Well, activating during events and having more richer experiences. I mean, that's something that could be done like literally like today. Doesn't even need massive investment to do. And I think at the end of the day is really the experience that you're giving to the core fans and non-core fans as well. But it's really about building it. And at the end of the day, it's not just the game, and that's not just that time that you spend in the air during the pitch when there's the players on the pitch. Is really about the whole experience and making it memorable and activating the audience. That's something that is very important for sports right now, to be honest, and that's what fans are looking for as well. It's not just the match, it's really everything around it, and that's the real opportunity for lots of sports, actually, not just football. It's about any big or smaller sport, because that's the whole experience that makes it different, and people are there happy to participate in any way they can.
Yeah. So I was thinking about a couple different ways that I guess if somebody is watching this today that hasn't already started to collect this, like I was just writing down some ideas of low-hanging fruit, right? One of the easiest ways is to kind of build some type of experience, whether that's in the stadium or in your, even in your social content or inside of your apps that's going to bring somebody in. So is that some type of trivia contest? Is that some type of, gamified experience that you can offer something to somebody to bring them in? And this is different from maybe signing somebody up to be, a subscriber or have a paid product, which is a different route. This is talking about how do you actually bring people in top of the funnel and move them down so you have leads. Oh, Carlo, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking, as you mentioned, that we should maybe do a session with my friend from Monte Rosa, Tom McDonald, because they're doing exactly that. We had a long discussion through the years of how that sector of interactive fan engagement is really not yet a sector, and because there is no huge market leader, and also clients are using it sparsely without I don't want to be kind of without a long-term strategy, it seems to me. But again,
yeah,
my view.
No, I mean, I think you bring up a good point. There's all sorts of different types of solutions, but they're all really disjointed. So, for example, I'm sure that, in your experience at Delta Tray, you've had clients in the past that wanted to do some type of polling feature or engagement layer that's right built inside of the app, right? But, they're also doing something inside of the stadium that might involve a digital billboard, and they might use a different vendor like a Squad or somebody else that's using the QR code, scan the QR code on the billboard that adds another layer. But none of these systems talk to each other, right? Which is, I think, where things could be more synergistic across the board, right? From the brand experience as a team, I can understand, hey, this is my one fan, and by the way, they're interacting on my mobile app. I know that they're coming into the stadium. They can derive a lot more insight that can be more valuable for their own site. But then as we talk about this, the Spotify deal, how does somebody like Spotify activate that? Well, that gives them more robust first party data so they can go in and do their own marketing and user acquisition strategies. Maybe they're running, acquisition ads back on social platforms or other places so they can actually get more Spotify users. So the idea is to kind of close that loop, but have the most granular and accurate data, but keeping that privacy in check.
Well, I believe that they have been considered more like nice to have so far. I mean, very nice and very niche, but the commercial value of all of these engagements and activations there are not considered as so strategic. But clearly, I mean, the minute that you're talking about how to leverage those for internal purposes or for sponsorship, then the value goes up. So I think that they should be part of the strategy, no doubt. But commercially, like the value, I don't think it's perceived as much as it should.
Yeah.
And again, if they were to build a sub-brands, think that there are not just millions, there might be billions on that, and that's something it's not a nice to have. Especially if you look at the revenue of most of the clubs, and that's both sides of the pond. Is like, take away like the very big names, then lots of even like second tier names, the numbers they have in terms of revenue, they're nice, but they're not massive. And if they can double that amount, well, that starts being more interesting, and there's a bigger opportunity. It's not just a nice to have, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I think about is that the value of a person is more valuable than just an eyeball. I guess I could probably come up with a more elegant way to say that, but when you're going after impressions, you're just going after one piece of the person. But if you're actually going with some type of conversion mechanism or building some type of engagement where you can identify the whole person, it's infinitely going to be more valuable to both you and then to go and sell that, right? But I was just thinking, like, if I were a team today, I might recommend that you go and, if you're kind of evaluating to make it a must-have, look at all of those different touch points that you have. So we talked a little bit about stadiums, right? So if you have static signage in your stadium, one of the easiest ways that you can kind of capture more first-party data is to throw a QR code on it and build some type of engagement experience that invites somebody to, play a game or enter to win something or drive them to an interesting story or something exclusive that you can't see anywhere else. So in stadium, there's a way to do that. But I also think that people should definitely take a page from even some of the broadcast TV in their social videos. And Paul, I'd love to get your thoughts or opinions on this, but breaking down that fourth wall, right? If you have millions and millions of views on your YouTube channel, could you put a QR code, or could you push people to enter a trivia contest right from the page or right from your caption, and capture the attention and the traffic that's coming to those social videos, so you can kind of capture a fragment of that, right? If you do that a couple times over the course of a season and you're getting millions and millions of social video views, you probably can capture a good chunk of that audience and help to identify them more. So could you build QR codes like on your live stream to get somebody to engage through polls or a trivia game, or play bingo or things like that? Could you put a link inside of the caption? I don't know, Paul, have you had any experience with folks trying to kind of pull back and identify more people from platforms like YouTube?
Well, definitely, I can tell you more examples, actually more from the creator side, because I think there is one very big difference still between the clubs or rights holders and the creators. There are many, but what the creators are doing is really, by building the community, they are part of the community. So it's really circular. So they're part of it, they're talking to them, they're listening to them. And that's really, it's like their living room. So the channel and the live stream, for example, of a creator is their living room, where everybody is in the same room, even if it's virtual. So what they do then is like they really part of that, and their influence therefore is way stronger. So it's not a one-way kind of relationship. While what I see in clubs and rights holders is really much, it's a one-way, it's kind of a broadcast on social media, and that's not all the time like this. But if you compare the way the communication goes, it's very similar to broadcast versus on social media. So it's really one way. So I have the content, I distribute the content through social media, and you consume the content. And therefore my influence is slightly less than what it is of a creator, because the creator is like, like my cousin, my friend, my brother. He's part of it's like my blood in a way, And if he says that this product is brilliant, I'm going to go and buy it because I trust him fully. And that's the difference between being part of the community and being broadcasted to. And I think that is one of the differences between the two words. That doesn't mean that they can't really get closer to each other. There's a lot of learning from one side to the other. But then definitely, going back to your question on the QR codes, well, if you're live streaming and showing QR codes, or you can actually be very smart in leveraging not just the live stream or any piece of content that you have, from shorts to on-demand videos, and you can actually always do a call to action there. And then if, for example, the creators are doing lots of giveaways and activities where people can participate, and people love participation. So being a QR code or just commenting and or just taking part of something on a website, they would do it. The people want to be part of it. I think that there is not too much of offer from clubs and rights holders on that side. So if you, for example, you're doing a live stream and you're doing a poll and you're actually asking to do an action, people would do the action. That's the only thing that you need to do is call to action. People love to be part of it. They don't love to be watching a broadcast because they are on social media. They're not watching TV. Otherwise, they would watch TV.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, because exactly the breaking down of that fourth wall. There's so many people, and the creators do such a good job of bringing you in right away, so it doesn't feel like there's that separation between you and the screen. They're almost inherent. And so, to your point, when folks like Logan Paul or KSI or other people can go and launch these brands, if they're smart, they've been gathering information about their fans off of YouTube, so they can then go send them an email, get them to go and be the audience for that new product that they then go and launch. But there are so many different ways that I think that from the sports side, we forget to look at those different touch points, or we're so focused in telling one story a certain type of way that we forget to think like a creator, to your point. And the creators are really the most successful when it comes to social. And then, yes, to other points, as I mentioned before, it's really about looking at your other touch points that you do have, whether that's in the stadium, or that's in, billboard ads that you're running in other places, even your mobile app, right? I know, as I mentioned, Squad has teams that are, I think they have one of the baseball teams, right, that actually has it loaded inside of their app. So, you could be a fan, you could just be using the app to download for scores and schedules, but then they build in all of these different engagement mechanisms. So at any time they can serve different types of opportunities to fans to engage them deeper, collect that first party or zero party data, and oftentimes like sponsor those things, right? So they're also monetizable assets that they can then go and bring to the different partners. So yeah, I think that the important thing to take away here, and I'd love to just to hear what you guys think, is that it really is, as you think about understanding the value of a fan, the first place that you have to start is understanding how to collect that data and present that within your organization. So, maybe kind of from here, from the two of your guys' experience, do you have any recommendations for anybody who's watching in terms of how to bring the idea of a data first, fan first data strategy into the organization, or, as like a direct to consumer mindset, maybe Carlo from the streaming side?
But in general, if you want, going back to what I mentioned about the kind of interactive fan engagement, I normally really always think fan-centric or consumer-centric and then go inside. In this case, I've seen too many times this interactive feature who can be used to collect and in exchange for value, first-party data, are often thought as a feature. So let's add some feature there, some feature there. In this case, you have to design that. I don't want to say data first, which seems stupid, but you really need to think what part of the funnel you're trying to, if you want, energize by doing certain things. So if there is something that makes sense in the experience of the consumer, so I'm watching a game, or and that's a way that I get the consumer more engaged and part of the community. So there is a value for the consumer. I need to be very strategic in terms of what interactive feature I put where, in terms of the journey from the consumer that arrive to something, discover new features, discover new possibility, and engage more and more. So in that sense, it should be designed fan-centric. So I need to do something that makes sense as a journey for the fan. On the other side, I need to design which data I'm collecting where and how I'm using also to enrich the experience from a data point of view. And very often, I think there is a vague idea, I want to get users, I create some random interactive experience that possibly they don't make a lot of sense for the consumer. And then I collect randomly data for, as you said, different platform. I never put it in the same place. I think that's more or less high level in average. I'm sure there are excellence examples that are not like that. But that's my kind of scenario that I've seen. And that's not great, I have to say. Sorry. It should be done strategically in terms of value for the fan and data value, I guess. My voice is gone, aiuto.
Oops, okay. I'll jump in and save you. All right. I hope you're okay, Carlo. Okay. So I would say there are some examples that are very interesting from the music industry. For example, again, you start from the user experience, and I would agree with Carlo on that. For example, you have concerts on Roblox, or like you have some experiences that you just want to be part of it because it's cool to be part of it, and you want to. And then if that means that your data are collected in a way or another, I mean, who cares? I mean, you're part of something that is unique, and the experience is amazing. So you're not feeling as I'm sold something, and I am so they just want my data, and that's just a tiny feature, and that I'm getting, and I'm getting just the results of something. So I'm just giving my email address. I mean, that's where it's like the last century approach is. Now it's really about the experience, and then engagement, and the why. So the why the user should be there, and why should be static to be there and part of it. And then the exchange is a no-brainer. So that's part of it, and nobody is going to complain about any exchange of data or money if it's commercial. It's really just build the experience that people want to be part of, and then transform that into valuable data, commercial revenue, whatever that could look like. And that's something that everybody wants, experience. And I think the music industry has a lot to say on this, and the sport can learn a lot from this type of experience from the music.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that those are all great points. And actually, the biggest thing I think I took from you, Carla, right there is that the story is so important to tell this. And I think, Paolo, that's what you're saying as well. Right? You have to have a great story to be a part of the experience of that fan, and it has to be native to what they're doing. Right? I brought up another good example that I heard recently, which was this team, the Winterhawks, and they work with Toyota. So they have a corner inside of their hockey arena that's totally branded with the Toyota logo. It's kind of called the Toyota Corner. And they've activated it by doing, kind of a QR code trivia on the scoreboard, so fans can kind of win a chance to go and like upgrade their seats to go to the Toyota Corner. So they're actually, able to give their information for a chance to upgrade their seats and go and sit down. But they've also then branded that area inside of the stadium. So it gives you a chance to kind of take two touch points that you have, a scoreboard and a rink board, but then also add a digital layer by bringing the fan in and getting them to encourage. And then obviously when they go and sit down in the corner, you're getting them to take photos, and everybody's excited because they want to be the folks that are actually getting into the Toyota Corner. So now you've taken, one idea and turned it into a social asset, two in-stadium sponsorship assets, a digital asset, and then collecting emails that you can go and activate, right? And all of that is really rooted in this awesome story, which is like there's this special corner of the arena that everybody wants to go and sit in because it's the hot corner, right? And that's just a natural part of the fan experience. So I think that you're both brought up a great point. And same thing, when you see a concert, when you see fans, there's been tons of really awesome musicians that have gotten their fans involved in, whether it's in live arenas and live performances or through live streams that they've been hosting. I think that story is super important to be able to command the exchange of information that needs. So that, I think, just about wraps up the day for Sports Across the Pond. Another episode in the books. I want to thank everybody for joining us online, and Paola and Carlo, as always, thank you very much for your time. It's always great to join and talk with you.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Nick and Carlo. See you next time.
See you next
Bye-bye.
time.